Hi everyone, it's Tammy, and today we are going to do a little coloring. And I have different alcohol markers. I have a few Copic markers. I have my Touch 5 markers that you guys have seen me use before. I have my new fine color markers, and I actually even have one more marker, which is, what are these called? Tri-Art Sunstar markers. So I am going to go over a little bit of each of these so that you guys can see, excuse me, the differences and how they color and stuff like that. Just to give you some basics. I am by no means an artist. I'm trying to get ones that are different colors, so I'll have a different color case to show you. I only have about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably about 20 of these, and probably about, I don't know, 20 Copics. And then I have the full set of the Touch 5 and the full set of the fine color. The full set for the Touch 5 means there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, probably about 160, same as with the fine color. There's 160 of those. And I went ahead and colored a little bit with the three basics. I didn't use my tricolor ones. These are the ones I use the least. I actually forget about these sometimes. I like them okay, but I'll tell you a little bit more. So I used fine color for this first one, and I did use the same coloring technique for all of them, which I will show you here at the end. I will color with using this dog with the same technique that I use for all of the others. And I tried to get similar gray colors in all of my three favorite markers, the fine color, the Copics, and the Touch 5. Clearly I didn't get exactly the same colors. That's okay, because I wasn't trying to do a color comparison, although I might do that in another video. But for this one, I was just trying to color and see how they turned out. So I used gray, obviously, for all of these cats. This is the fine color. I think the fine color blended well. There's a little bit of non-blending down here, but I could have let it dry too much. That happens sometimes. So I'm not even, to me, as a beginner, and you guys are probably, some of you are maybe way more advanced than I am, but I know that a lot of you guys are beginners. So that's who I'm really talking to in this. If you are advanced, then you already know way more than I do. So you might not enjoy this video. But for those of you that are starting out or are maybe, you know, have been coloring for a while but don't really know exactly, that's kind of who I'm talking to, because that's where I am. So I just wanted to compare the three to see how well they blended and see all of that. So here's my fine color. I think that these blended beautifully. I was very impressed with the amount of ink that came out when you were coloring. I just loved it. So I was very happy with the blending of the fine color. I ended up just using 2 different colors in each of these, just so I can give a good comparison. So even though I have 3 different colors listed out here, I didn't use the darkest one. I used the 278 and 279 of these fine color markers. And then on my Copics, I used BG3 and BG4, which aren't these two. I used these for something else, or I just pulled these out. I don't remember. But the Copics are these down here at the bottom. Oh, no, I'm lying. I did use N4 and N6 on Copics. I skipped that one. Sorry. So I used N4 and N6 for my Copics. Again, the blending is phenomenal. They do such a great job with blending. And the color was very well. I mean, I was pleased with it. I did go outside the lines a little bit with this one, only because I was trying to color with my broad tip. This one I just used the narrow tip of the Copic sketch markers, and I can control it a little bit better. So there's that. Now my Touch 5 markers, again, I did not use the broad tip. I just used the other tip, and it didn't seem to blend as well. And I saturated this bad boy. I even tried it a few times to go back to it and try to get it, and I was not real impressed with those 2 colors. It is weird though, because there's other colors that I think blend well. So I don't know, these grays just didn't blend very well. You can see how blotchy and spotchy it is. I wouldn't use that on anything. I would use both of these on a card or whatever. And just so you know, this is regular copy paper. This is a digi stamp that I had purchased from Bugaboo Stamps, and it's just regular old copy paper, and that's the results. So my initial impressions of how well the fine color colors, it's beautifully. I love it. And as well as blending, great. The Touch 5, it just didn't seem to blend very well, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt because I've had it blend very well with other things. And then the Copics, they of course blend very well. So then I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to color again. I did not use the Copics. I'm kind of taking the Copics a little bit out of it because, first of all, I don't have a ton of Copics, and second of all, they're so expensive. I'm really trying to find an alternative to use that I like. Maybe not just as well, but equally enough to do what I need to do. And the Touch 5s have been great, but then somebody on my channel recommended the fine color, and they were $100 for all of those. And I thought, you know what, for that price, I really can't beat it. I should just go ahead and get them and do a comparison and see what I think. And, you know, I'm doing it for you guys as much as I am for me. So I wanted to you know, see what was up. So on this one, I used, what did I use? I used that's right. Okay, on this one, I used my fine color. On this one, I used my Touch 5. So you can see how the Touch 5 blended a lot better. If you look at those browns, it just blended way better. And then the fine color, I think it blended fine as well. Not bad. I didn't write fine color on here, but I know that this is my fine color because I did this one first. And although I love the way the flower turned out, and I love the way the whole coloring turned out, I wish I would have done it opposite, where I put this lighter color, or whatever, this brown color, where the reddish brown is, and opposite. So then that's when I went over here to this one and thought, well, I'll do it kind of opposite. I'll do the dark on the outside and then the lighter on the inside. And I think both of them turned out cute. My favorite color is pink. My husband's favorite color is green, so that's where I came up with those. I like his tongue, how I used a couple different colors for his tongue. I don't know what colors I use now. It's really not important. It was more just the technique and seeing how it went. And then I thought I would leave this one open so that I could color this with you guys so that you can see the coloring technique. But before I do that, I have a scratch piece of paper out here, and I want to kind of show you the differences in all of the markers. Now this is a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is a lot nicer cardstock than just copy paper, and that's exactly what this is copy paper from my printer, just printed it out. But I wanted to show you that you could use that and it's okay. Some people would probably say it's not if it's professionals, but you know. Let's here, let me write on here. This is Copic. Oh, I didn't give that enough room. This is fine color. This will be Touch 5. And this one will be Tri Art. And then I'll just have a section here that I can do extra if I need to. I don't know, hopefully this is enough room. So the Copics have the Copic sketch has two sides. And you can see here that there's a little band around the side that has the point. And then this is the broad side. So the broad side looks like this. The lid looks like this. You can color with the broad side. Make those kinds of lines with the broad side. When you stick this in, if you put it on the side, it slides down. I don't know if you can see, but there's not a hard ridge or anything. It's not going to mess up the point. It just pushes it in and it clicks. The band tells you that this is the soft, or the pointy side. This also shows you the pointy side, and that shows you the broad side. Same with this one. If you accidentally like hit the edge, it's not going to mess up your point. It'll just slide it right into the middle of the lid. And the broad point, oops, is going to give you things like that. You can make little fine lines. You can color easily away from you, even towards you if that's the way you'd prefer. It gives you little lines, and you have a lot of control. This tip is easy to work with. I feel like it is just phenomenal. I love the Copic tip. So there is a Copic marker. Next we're going to do the fine color markers. Now let me pick out a color that I don't have out. I'll do a pinky color. Oh no, I'll do a pinky color. So the fine color markers, they are round, so that's kind of a pain that they will slide. However, I want to let you know that there is a little notch on both of the lids that help prevent it from sliding. So it's not going to hopefully slide off your table. It will hopefully stop on one of those edges before it gets to the slide off point, and that's kind of nice. But it is totally round. The barrel is round. It's easy to hold. Actually, the Copic is easy to hold too. I don't have any problem with any of them, how you hold them. So just to say that, there is a band around the pointy side as well. And then this is the broad side. And the same as the Copics, there is a little point that tells you. Oh, and one thing I didn't tell you was that Copics have a number or a letter, and it says N6. This stands for neutral gray and number 6. So this tells you exactly what color it is and what number it is. And you can learn by either doing swatches or whatever, how the colors all work together. So all of the N's go together. All of the, oh, let me look. There's E's that go together. There's Y's that go together. They're like color families. And then within that family, there's different shades. And that's what this is. So this is a neutral gray 6. This is a neutral gray 4. And you could easily learn these and figure out what you needed to do. So that's kind of neat too, that they kind of help you out. And you know that the smaller the number, the lighter the color. The larger the number, the darker the color. With fine color markers, let's go ahead and do the same. Gives you the nice broad. Might even be a little bit broader of a, maybe not, it's hard to tell. I can do a fine line as well with the broad. In the lid, it does not, it's the same as the Copics, where it will easily slide, slide into it, and it clicks to get it clicked. And it's a pretty good push. And it's a pretty good pull to get them off, which is great because you want to make sure that they stay nice. And here is the tip of this one. It's a smaller tip. You can see it's a much smaller tip. It gives you the fine lines. I can't really get a broad line because these remember were done with the Copic's tip. I can't get that same line, so I tend to, well, I won't do that yet because this is a fine color. I haven't really used this one. But you can get a fine line out. You can push a fine line in, but you're going to make a lot of fine lines. I call this grass when you kind of push the edge down and then go up to the tip. It doesn't make as nice of grass as the Copic does. Because see how that kind of can look like grass if I did it in green. It has a wider at the bottom and then it's pointed at the top. And this is kind of just more like a little line. To do that same grass, I'd probably have to do it myself manually. Either by doing what I just did and then, you know, like making the teardrop around it or something like that. It's not as nice of a point as the Copic point. It also has numbers on the top. So, and the numbers are on both ends, same with the Copics. I didn't tell you that. So this is number 204, but then it has other letters, 2 rows of other letters, and they probably mean something to someone. And this one says PS0R40, and then B10W40. And I'm thinking that those might do something with the RGM or whatever, the spectrum. those might mean something in that. To me, they don't mean anything. I don't know what that means. So I'm kind of going, So I look at the number and I'm like, okay, this is a 204. So here's a 206. And if it was Copic, 206 would be darker than 204, but you can see how it looks like they go down. So let's see if I can find a 2. Here's a 203. And then, so then you get totally confused. At least I do. I'm like, okay, so now what? Because it looks like this is darker than that one, but this one is still darker than this one, but it's not as dark as that one. It's very confusing to me. And here's a 211. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know why that numbering is the way it is. I have not tried to investigate it, but let's just put these out there. Let's go in order. Here's a 203. Here is the 204. This one is the 205. No, 206. See how weird that is? And maybe it's because that one's getting to be a little more purpley, maybe. And this one is a 211. But I don't get it. I don't know how the numbers work. I have no idea. So I just kind of look at the thing and then I compare it. And I have found with the fine color markers, the color on the lid is pretty close, it seems, to be the color that actually comes out. So if you can see those colors, they match. So even though the numbers are weird, I know that the colors match. So I'm still doing all right with that. It's just odd for me because I can't figure out the numbering system. With the Copics also, I think that they are very true to their color as well. This one must have been this one. So let's just try it again. I'm just going to draw another. Yes. So just to prove my point, the coloring system of the Copics is true to color as well. So now let's go ahead and look at the Touch 5 markers. I just have a couple of these out here. These are the same in that they have the broad and the fine. Again, on the fine, there's a little gray band. It's a little smaller, maybe a little harder to see, but not really. It's okay. You pull these out, and I don't know if you can see, but the cap is not like the caps on the other ones. They come down like this. So when you slide in your marker, it will slide in. This one has the marker, and then here's the marker case. But this comes out from the side, and this seems to be filled in. So you can slide your pen in just fine like that. On these, it is just and these are held to the edge just with a little plastic thing. So there's a point. So when I'm sliding this in, I can actually hit that point and mess up my point of my marker. I have done that several times, and it will separate these little fine hairs and just kirk, and it will kind of mess up the marker, the tip. So here is a Touch 5, and oh, let me do the broad end first. And the same as with the broad end, and that, see, here's one. Can you see that? That's totally ripped off right there, because I must have hit the edge of it when I was putting it in, which is very easy to do because you're just clicking the marker in there, and it ruined it. And this one is running out of ink already. Let me see if I can use a different one. There we go. That one is very potent of ink, which is fabulous. Again, you can get a fine line and a pointy line, and it works out well. The coloring on this one isn't too bad. On some of them, it is way off. You have no idea, and no idea what color it's going to be. And this is a number 70, and it says royal blue, and that's what it says so you know that this is a royal blue. It's supposed to be. This one is supposed to be cobalt blue. Let me get another one just because I want you guys to see this, and since that one's running out of ink. This one says Napoleon blue, and it's number 72. And this is 72. It's a little darker than 70, and it's actually pretty close to color too. I can't complain with these, but there are some that are so far off the color of the lid, you wouldn't even believe it's the same color. I wish I could think of one off the top of my head. Oh goodness. I know that some of these browns are, but I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. That one's not too bad. I promise you, there are some that you're going, what in the heck? This is not at all the color that I think it is. And Tanya and I were both talking about that, so I know it's not just me. She thought the same thing. I mean, it shows one color on the little end, and then by the time you color it, it's a totally different color. That one's not even coloring very well. I don't know. Just when you practice with them, you would know that, okay, you've got to be careful of the color. I always test my colors out because I never can trust these colors to be the same. So there's the broad point. Let's see, and then I think it doesn't matter. And then here's the pointy point. Same thing with the touch 5 as with the fine color, I feel like. I mean, I can get a lot of color. I can do a lot when it comes to the grass thing. I have to struggle to do it, and it's not as good as Copic for sure. I feel like it's way more like the fine color, or fine color ones. So, I don't know. I mean, these are great pens. They blend well usually. I haven't had any problem until I saw that one that I did this morning with the grays not blending well. But honestly, most of the time, I don't have any problem with blending as much as I need it to blend. It will usually just blend just fine. Kind of show you there, but I mean, really, these are great markers. The biggest pet peeve I have with these is the way that the lid comes in. Well, actually, this one doesn't even have anything in the lid, which would have been nice. That side doesn't either. That's so funny. But then the rest of them, oh, that one doesn't have anything on the lid either. How is that so weird? But this one definitely has something weird with the lid. And definitely on this side, which caused it to do that over here. So why do some of them have that little thing in there and some of them don't? I have no earthly idea. And then I try to cut this thing off, and that's usually what I do. It looks like even the thing is coming out. I have to push it down. It's weird. It's weird. But that's my biggest complaint with these markers. I like them. They blend well. They work well. They're usually pretty... it seems to have a lot of ink in them. I have not tried to refill them. I'm thinking that I should probably be able to refill them even if I can't find a Touch 5 refill. Maybe with a appropriate color through Copics, I could maybe refill them. So that's something I'm thinking of. I can't even get that end off now, but I'm not going to worry about it. So let's go to the Tri-Art. Now the Tri-Art is different in that it has 3 tri. It has a fine, a broad, and a brush tip. The fine tip is very, very fine. I'll do that down here. It's almost like a writing, like you could write your name or whatever with this. The brush tip is more like the Copic tip. Actually, very much like the Copic tip. I can do the grass with these. I can color away from it, or I can push the ink toward me. The broad tip does not have, well, you know what? It does have kind of the same lid that the Touch 5 has, but I haven't noticed that being a problem with these. So there's my broad tip. I actually like this Tri-Art as well. I used to, these were the first ones that I had. And these do have the bad lid where you put these in and you could crush the brush, but I have not noticed that ever happening with these, to be quite honest. This one seems to be out of ink. Again, I don't know if there's refills for these or not. And was this the color I was using? No, that's not. So this is the color I was using. So the inks on this one, this is more like the Copic where it says G2 and then it says turquoise. And then there is a BG for blue-green, a B for blue. This is baby blue, Nile blue, and light blue. And so it's more like the Copics where it has the color family. So I know that if I'm using the Bs, those colors will somehow go together. And this is an 8 and a 9, so I know that they should match in, but I think that these are out of ink. And that's a BG and a G, which still shouldn't be too far off because it's a blue-green and a green. Let me see if I have, I do, I have another BG. Let me just go with that one. So these are both BG. Here's a 7 and an 8. I'm going to do the brush tip. There's the 7 and the 8. Pretty true to color, and you can see how they're kind of in the same family. Let's see if I can get them to blend a little bit. I think that I can. I think that they blend pretty well. I like these a lot. The thing I don't like about them is that because it has 3 ends, I felt like I was forever trying to find the right end. I mean, it would be nice if the brush tip was the one in the middle or something like that, so I would know every time which one I had to go for. The little helpful band is amazingly helpful. You wouldn't think so if you didn't, if the first time I was using these, I wouldn't have thought that that little band would help me so much, but it certainly does. I know that where the end that the band is on is the end that I want to go to because this is the one I use most. I do tend on the Touch 5s, and probably the fine color I tend to use the broad end a little more than anywhere else. I never use the broad end of the Copics unless I'm coloring a big piece. And that's just because this is so fine that you almost feel like like you should be writing with this tip, but you're coloring. So I find that I need to, stretch out my expand the amount of color that's going on each time. And with the Copics, the brush is such that it allows you to color a much larger spot, and then you can just blend it all in together, and it just works out really well. Now, I do need to mention that all of these blend together as well because they're all alcohol markers. They all can blend together. You wouldn't be able to tell. They all come with a colorless blender, or you have that as an option where it would take away some of the color that's in there. And the colorless blenders work no matter which marker you're using. I mean, this is a fine color, what's this called? Oh, this is a fine color blender. But it will work on any of the others. It will work on the Copics, it will work on the fine colors, it will work on the Touch 5s, it will work on the Tri-Arts. As long as it is an alcohol marker, it will work. So hopefully you can see that, how it's putting some white in those areas. Or lighting it up, I guess. So those are the big differences between the markers. I do have to say that I'm very excited about these fine color markers. I'm thinking at this moment, these would be my best bet for my money. If I couldn't afford the Copics, which I can't, and I wanted to get something that was comparable and something that I liked a lot, I would go for the fine color. I like the TriArts and the fact that it has the nice brush, just like the Copics, because I love the Copic brush. That's the one thing that sets it apart, in my opinion, from the others, is the little brush. It's so nice. It feels good to use. And it's nice and long, so you can do brush lettering with it if you can do that. I don't know about the fine colors. I'm still learning brush lettering, so I don't know that I can do that with the smaller nibs yet, but I can tell you that the Copic markers, you can also switch the nibs. They're easily refillable. They're fabulous. The Copic markers are also like $5 a piece. Each one is like $5. So these, each one, if there's 160 of them and I spent $100, they are more like 60 cents each or less. So you can see the value of getting, you know, of something, finding an alternative, which is what I was trying to do. So again, if I had to just get one at this moment, even with the Touch 5 that I highly loved, and I still do, I would still say that I would get the fine color, just because I like that the colors match the lids better, and I feel like it's getting me somewhere. I still want to figure out the coloring thing. I'm probably going to do a big sample color of each one, but that's going to take me some time to do, so I won't be doing that anytime soon, but that's on my list of things that I'd like to do, like a color swatch. So all of that being said, let's go ahead and color our little dog, and I will show you how I color so that you'll know. And I also need to put my fine color markers up. I have trays for them. I just haven't done that yet. I don't really know where I'm going to put them because my desk space is almost exhausted. So let's go ahead and color this little guy. And I think I'm going to do, I might do like shades of darker brown or darker gray. And I might even do like a whitish in there. So let's see, I'm going to grab this 274, and then I'm just going to grab a color that's lighter, and then maybe a 275 if I can find it. Here's a 280. Oh, here's a 278. And see how it's weird again? I don't know how that works. And then here's a 253, which looks even lighter. And here's a 269 that looks way light. So I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it. But I'm sure there's a reason. I just don't know it yet. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to color each one of these to the side so I can see what colors these are. So this is 253. This is 269. This is 273. This one's 274. And this one's 278. So I want my little guy to be pretty dark, and then I want this part to be almost white. So I'm thinking I'm going to use the 274 to color his body, like mostly. So the one that I think that would go the best with it to blend well would maybe be, gosh, I'm going to go with the 273 and 274 to color his body. So let's get 273 and 274. And I'm going to put those to the side. And I'm going to take the 273, whoops, and I'm going to color his whole body with this 273. Well, the colors I would want to be colored with the lighter of the two colors. So, and I know that I've heard most people who do alcohol coloring recommend 3 colors. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet. I sometimes would use 3, but with small areas like this, I find that 2 just works fine. And when I try to expand it to 3, I can sometimes mess up. So So I always start with the lighter color. This is a pretty dark lighter color, but I want her to look black. And I don't use just black when I'm trying to do black because it takes away from all of the extras that they kind of already put in here for you. So like all of the highlights or the little extra things that they do, if you use too dark of a color, it totally hides all of that and then you can't see anything, and it's kind of a bummer in my opinion. Okay, so then when I have my darker or my lighter color down, I take my darker color and I put this where I think that it would be a darker area. And I do small, fine lines. I'm going to do his eyebrows darker. It's hard for me to do tutorials like this because I don't feel like I'm an expert, and to not be an expert and to do tutorials to me is sometimes a little crazy, but I understand because I like to watch people who aren't masters at it either, because that's where I am. So hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. And then what I do is I take my lighter color again and I just blend in where the edges of the first color are, so I won't, or the second color, the darker color is. So the edges where the darker color is, I blend in. I just don't want it to be a harsh black, you know, another color or whatever. I mean, now if it's a different part of his body, then that's fine. Like this is black and white. Now even that though, I'm going to color in a lighter color. I think I'm going to use this 269. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to color all of this area. I'm just coloring the inside of his ears with this same light color, so it'll all be tied together. But then I'm going to take, I don't know, let's see, what's my 270 look like? I think I'll take my 270 and I'll go along here. And then I'll take that 269 again and I will blend this in. I kind of think this side blended in nicely all by itself. Alrighty, so then I'm going to go ahead and color his flower. And what color do I want his flower to be? I might do like a purpley. Let's see what color this is. Okay, so I'm going to color the middle, this dark purple, and I'm going to color out on each one of those just a little dark. And I'm going to color this collar part. And I'm going to leave this marker out so that I can color some more of that. So that's 114. Here's 112. That might do it. So then I'm taking this and I'm just blending it out toward the end of the flower. And then I'm going to take this color and kind of do the same thing to it. And I don't really care if I get the little rivets on the color because I'm going to color over those in just a minute. And I'm doing that with this darker shade of purple. I'm going to color it in a little bit, or blend it in a little bit with this. There we go. And then I need to do his little tongue. So I pick out a couple of colors for that. Let's see what this one looks like. And then that's 135. Let's look at 136. There we go. And then I like to take a really light, like gray color to do the insides of his eyes. And I don't remember what color I used for these guys. Let's see. Wasn't that one? Well, let's see if I can find like a light. It's a light greenish color. No. See, this one looks a lot darker than what shows on the tip. It's dry and lighter though. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. And there we go. That is how I color with the Copics. I start with the light, color it all, then I go in with the dark and highlight, and then I go back over with the light to kind of blend it all together. And I think that turns out really cute. So thanks guys so much for watching. I hope that this helped. If there's any other questions or things that you'd like to know, please let me know and I will do my best to answer them. But in the meantime, happy crafting. Bye-bye.